Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt inspired, truly inspired? You read a book, watched a video, and for a moment, you felt alive. You were ready. You were sure. I'm going to change. I'm going to do it this time. This is it. You took a step, maybe two. But somewhere along the way, you stopped. Now listen, it's not hard to get excited. What's hard is to stay excited. What's hard is to keep going when nobody's watching. When the applause fades. When it's no longer new or fun or easy. But I want to tell you something. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And once you start those disciplines, don't stop. Because success doesn't show up for the man who starts. It shows up for the man who stays. It's not in the beginning. It's in the continuing. It's in the finishing. You've got to stay the course. When it's hard, when it's quiet, when you don't feel like it. Because the moment you stop, you break the rhythm. And when the rhythm breaks, progress disappears. Let me say this plainly. You can't stop every time it gets hard. You can't stop every time you get tired. You can't stop just because results take time. If you really want something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. The world is full of people who start, but it's built by the few who finish. And that's what this message is about. Once you start, don't stop. Not for anyone. Not for anything. Not even for yourself. When you don't feel like it. Because your dreams are waiting, and they only respond to consistency. Let's go on this journey together. 5 parts. 1 mindset, don't stop. Success is predictable. It's not luck, and it's not magic. It's hard work and discipline. Now that's a phrase I've lived by. You see, one of life's greatest forces is momentum. It's invisible, but powerful. It's quiet, but unshakable. And if you learn to build it and protect it, it can carry you through anything. But here's the thing about momentum. You don't get it by thinking. You don't get it by talking. You get it by starting. Just take the first step. That's all it takes to set the wheels in motion. Now, I want you to think about this. Have you ever pushed a car that ran out of gas? Hard to move at first, right? Takes everything you've got just to budget. But once it starts rolling, even a little, it gets easier. That's momentum. And life works the same way. Start with what you have. Do what you can. And never stop moving forward. The key is to build momentum early. And then guard it with your life. You start by waking up early one day. Then 2. Then a week. You start by reading 10 pages a day. Then 10 turns into a book. Then a book becomes a library. You start by going to the gym once. Then twice. Then your body starts to change. And that's when it happens. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to see progress. You begin to believe again. Because you're not starting over. You're continuing. And in continuing, momentum is born. But here's the danger to most people: stop. They get tired. They lose interest. They listen to the voice that says, it's not working fast enough. And every time you stop, you have to start over. Every time you start over, it takes twice the effort. You lose progress. You lose belief. You lose time. It's easy to do. But it's just as easy not to do. So guard your momentum. Protect it like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because it is. Let me tell you something personal. When I started out, I was broke. I was 25. I had pennies in my pocket and excuses in my head. But someone gave me a plan. And I took the first step. It didn't feel like much. Just a little discipline, a little effort, a little reading, a little action. But then I did again and again. And something started to shift. It got easier. My confidence grew. My self-respect returned. And people began to notice. They said, "What happened to you, Jim?" I said, "I just kept going." That's momentum. That's what consistency does. Now listening, it's not that the successful are smarter. It's not that they have better ideas. It's that they kept going. While others stopped, they continued. While others waited, they worked. While others complained, they compounded. That's the secret. What's easy to dog is easy not to do. But that's what makes the difference. So, what do? You start, and then you don't stop. Start small. Yes, but don't stay small. Let small lead to big. Let effort create results. Let repetition build excellence. You see, motivation is what gets you going, but momentum is what keeps you going. And if you lose momentum, it can take weeks, months, even years to recover it. So don't stop. Don't stop when it gets hard. Don't stop when it gets quiet. Don't stop when no one notices. Don't stop when the results are slow. Just don't stop. Because once you start, you're no longer who you were. You're building something. A life, a future, a legacy, and momentum is your greatest ally. Don't let one bad day become a bad week. Don't let one misstep become a missed life. Pick it up. Keep it going. Don't stop. It's easy to quit. It doesn't take courage. It doesn't take character. It only takes a moment of weakness. But what quitting does to you now, that's the real danger. Because quitting doesn't just stop progress. It shatters your self-respect. It breaks the bond between you and you. And if you do that enough times, you stop believing in yourself entirely. Let me say it plain. Every time you say you're going to do something and don't, you weaken the foundation of your own character. You say, I'm going to wake up early, but you hit the snooze. I'm going to work out, but you skip it again. I'm going to finish this project, but you push it to tomorrow. And even though no one else sees it, you do. Deep down, you know. You saw yourself quit. And the next time you make a promise to yourself, that quiet voice inside says, yeah, right. You see, quitting once feels harmless, but it starts a cycle, a dangerous one. Because after you quit once, it gets easier and easier until it becomes a habit. And before you know it, your whole life becomes a list of things you started but never finished. That's not just unproductive. That's painful. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret is forever. Now here, Meg, you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be honest. With yourself, you have to learn to follow through, especially when no one is watching. That's where confidence comes from. Confidence is not loud. It's not arrogant. It's quiet. It's knowing, deep down. When I say I'll do it, I do it. That's the root of all achievement. That's the kind of strength people feel when you walk into a room. Now let me ask you, how many dreams have been buried because of quitting? How many talents never saw the light of day because someone gave up too soon? It's a tragedy. And most of the time, it was right before the breakthrough. Right before the momentum kicked in. Right before the growth became visible. Right before the reward arrived. But they stopped. They chose comfort over commitment, distraction over discipline, excuses over execution. And that one choice, can alter the entire direction of a life. But here's the good news. You can rebuild. You can regain confidence, and you do it the same way it was lost, one step at a time. You set a small goal. You hit it. You look yourself in the mirror and say, see, I can do it. Then you do it again. And again, not huge leaps, just little promises kept, until one day you become the kind of person you can count on. That's confidence. Not what you say to others, but what you prove to yourself. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because when you grow in character, when you grow in personal discipline, when you learn to keep going even when you don't feel like it, everything changes. Your walk changes. Your talk changes. Your thinking changes. And the world starts to take you seriously because you finally started taking yourself seriously. So don't quit. Not because you feel good. Not because it's easy. But because your self-respect depends on it. You're not just doing the work. You're building the man or woman behind the work. And that's far more valuable than anything you produce. Let me close with this. The worst thing you can do is lie to yourself. The best thing you can do is keep your word to yourself. Quitting might feel good in the moment, but it leaves a scar. Staying the course might be painful, but it builds confidence, real confidence, the kind that no one can take from you. So once you start, don't stop. because your future depends on your follow-through. Let me tell you, most people don't lack goals. They don't lack dreams. They lack discipline. And when discipline disappears, you know what shows up in its place. Doubt? Doubt is sneaky. It creeps in slowly, not all at once. You start skipping the plan, missing a workout, putting off the work. Then one day, you don't just doubt the plan, you begin to doubt yourself. You say, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe success is for other people. But those are not facts. Those are symptoms. Symptoms of a life without structure, a life without follow-through, a life without discipline. Without discipline, the smallest obstacle feels like a mountain. But with it, even the biggest mountains feel like a challenge. That's the power of daily effort. Consistent effort. Not big flashy effort. Just steady, predictable, disciplined. Now let me tell you what discipline does. It keeps your promise alive. It honors your vision even when your feelings fade. It puts muscle behind your ambition. And most importantly, it silences doubt. Because the more consistent you become, the more confident you become. And confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from habits. Let me give you something that changed my life. Don't major in minor things. You see, I was 25 years old, broke, lost, frustrated. And a mentor said, Jim, your problem is not what you don't have. Your problem is what you're not doing. I didn't like hearing that, but I needed it. And he was right. I had dreams. Yes, but I wasn't putting in the work, so I made a decision every day I would do the little things. Read, write, think, discipline. And slowly things changed. The bank account changed. The mindset changed. The results changed. But more importantly, I changed. I became someone who could trust himself. And that's when the doubt faded. Not overnight. But day by day, the voice in my head that said, you can't, was replaced with one that said, keep going. So the next time doubt comes knocking, don't fight it with motivation. Don't drown it out with noise. Fight it with discipline. Stick to the plan. Stick to the structure. Stick to the actions. Because every time you act, you tell your mind, I'm in charge. And the more you lead yourself, the more doubt becomes a stranger. Here's the truth. We all suffer one of two pains. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is temporary, but it builds strength. It builds confidence. It builds a future. The pain of regret, that one stays with you. It whispers in your ear, you could have done more. But don't let that be your story. Let me challenge you today, pick one discipline. Just one. Something small. And do it. Then do it again tomorrow. Then again the next day. Soon doubt won't feel so big because you'll be walking with momentum. And momentum, remember, is built by discipline. So, what's the takeaway? Discipline is the cure. Not more hoping, not more waiting, more talking. Just start doing. And don't stop. You'll be amazed not just by what you accomplish, but by who you become. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Practice them. Because once you start, don't stop. The major value in life is not what you get. The major value in life is what you become. Let me share something with you that changed everything for Meg. Your word matters. Not just to others, but to yourself. In fact, that's where it matters most. You see, keeping your word to yourself is the foundation of all personal power. That's where confidence lies. That's where self-respect is born. Let me ask you, how many times have you said, I'll start tomorrow. I'll stick with it this time. I'm gonna change. And think nothing. It happens. We're human. We slip. But what happens after a while is dangerous. You stop believing your own voice. Not because you're a bad person, but because you broke your word again and again to yourself. And that does something to you. Now here, Meg, it's one thing to break a promise to someone else. But when you break a promise to you, you chip away at your inner strength. You lose trust in your own ability to follow through. And if you can't trust yourself, who else can you trust? Self-discipline begins with the mastery of your thoughts. If you don't control what you think, You can't control what you do. It all starts in the mind. It starts with intent, but it ends with action. So the key is simple but powerful. When you say you'll do it, no matter how small, no matter how ordinary. You say, I'll read 10 pages a day, then read 10 pages. You say, I'll wake up at 6, then wake up at 6. You say, I'll make 5 calls today, then make those 5 calls. And it's not about the task. It's about the identity you're building with every follow-through. Each action is a brick, and you're building a structure called self-respect. Let me tell you something I've learning. You can't hire someone to do your push-ups for you. You can't delegate discipline. You can't outsource self-respect. These are things you earn, day by day, promise by promise. Now here's what happens when you keep your word. You become dependable. Not just with yourself. You stop second-guessing. You stop hesitating. You walk a little taller because you know something about yourself. You know, if I say it, I mean it. That's real power. That's inner leadership. Let me remind you, success doesn't come from the outside in. It comes from the inside out. And nothing builds that inner strength faster than doing what you said you'd do. Now, maybe you've broken your word a few times. Maybe more than a few. That's okay. We've all been there. But here's the good news, you can start fresh today. Right now. No need for a new month. No need for a Monday. Today is as good a day as any to say, I'm going to honor my word again. I'm going to earn back my own trust. And then, start small. Don't try to move the mountain today. Just move the rock in front of you. Show yourself, I finish what I start. I follow through. I do hard things. And soon, something incredible happens. You start trusting your own voice again. You start respecting the person in the mirror. And that's when the world begins to shift. Not because it changed it, but because you did. The real miracle is not what you get. The real miracle is what it makes of you in the process. Keeping your word changes you. It strengthens you. It builds the foundation of everything else. Because if you can trust you can build anything. So remember this, don't just talk. Don't just plan. Don't just hope. Follow through. Because every promise kept is another brick in the house of your future. And every step you take is proof that you can keep going. If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. Start honoring your voice. Start walking your path. And once you start, don't stop. Because when you keep your word to yourself, you become unstoppable. Let me begin by saying something simple. You don't get paid for what you start. You get paid for what you finish. You don't get remembered for beginning. You get remembered for seeing it through. That's where the power is. That's where the transformation happens. That's where you find out who you really are. Finishing is what separates the wishers from the winners, the dabblers from the doers, the crowd from the few. Now, everybody's excited at the beginning. That's when the music is loud, the vision is clear, the possibilities are endless. But let me tell you, the beginning is just the invitation. It's not the victory. The victory is in the finish. That's the part most people never reach. And because of that, they never get to taste the reward. Let me give you a simple example. A man decides he wants to run a marathon. He buys the shoes, he gets the gear. He tells his friends, I'm training for 26 miles. First, full of energy. Second day, still pushing. By the third week, the knees ache, the mornings are cold, the motivation dips. Now comes the test. Does he stop? Because if he stops, all he has is a pair of nice shoes, a story he'll never finish, and a mind that whispers, you gave up again? But if he keeps going, if he pushes past the pain, if he crosses that finish line, he gets more than a medal. He gets identity. Now he says, I'm someone who finishes what I start. That, my friend, is priceless. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. The burden of giving up is heavy. You carry it with you. Every time you look in the mirror, you remember you almost made it. That's why finishing is so important. Applause. Not for the paycheck, but for the peace. Finishing gives you peace because deep down, I followed through. I became the person I said I'd be. Now some people say, but Jim, the reward's not big enough. Oh, but they're missing it. The reward isn't always in the results. The reward is in the process, in the discipline, in the becoming. Because who you become while finishing, that person is stronger, more focused, more reliable, more resilient. And those traits, they go with you into your next challenge, your next chapter. Let me tell you something I learned early. The finish line is a mirror. It reflects the character you built to get there. If you finish even when it's hard, you've proven something to yourself. You didn't need perfect conditions. You didn't need constant motivation. You didn't need applause from the crowd. You just needed a decision, and you honored it. That's what finishing does. It teaches you to trust yourself again. Think about this. Most people are living with unfinished dreams. Books they never wrote, conversations they never had, habits they never built, goals they never completed. And over time, that builds up like dust on your potential. It dims the light. It shrinks the vision. It chips away at belief. But finishing even one thing can change it all. That's the good news. You don't have to finish 100 things. Just finish one, and then another, and slowly belief returns. Confidence grows. And that inner voice says, you're back. Let's keep going. You say, but what if I fail? Friend, the real failure is not finishing. You can learn from a finished failure. You can grow from it. You can adjust, but you can't learn from quitting. Quitting robs you of the lesson. It robs you of the reward. Let me ask you something. What is unfinished in your life? A plan, a promise, a project, a version of yourself you've been postponing. It's time to go back and complete it. Not because someone else is watching, but because you're watching. And how you see yourself? That's the most powerful force in your life. Finish what you started. Let that be your identity. Not someday, but now. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for the stars to align. Start again. Pick up where you left off. And finish, because that feeling, when you do, is better than any moment of excitement at the start. It's solid. It's strong. It doesn't scream. It settles. Like an anchor inside you. And here's what happens next thing the world starts to notice. Because finishers are rare. Finishers get trusted. Finishers get promoted. Finishers lead. So be a finisher. Let's end this entire series with one final thought. Once you start, don't stop. And if you did stop, get back up. It's not too late. You're not too far gone. The journey is still available. Pick something meaningful, commit to it, and finish, because that's where the reward is. Not just in what you get, but in who you become. Finish strong. Leave nothing undone. The future belongs to those who see it through.